The pilots smelled smoke. They asked to land immediately, but the fire was already out of control. Swissair Flight 111 was a transatlantic passenger flight that crashed into the Atlantic Ocean on the 2nd of September 1998, killing all 229 people on board, and it became one of the most influential aviation accidents in history, because it revealed how hidden dangers like in-flight fires, material choices, and complex electrical systems can overwhelm even highly trained crews in a modern aircraft. The flight was operated by Swissair using a McDonnell Douglas MD-11, traveling from New York's JFK Airport to Geneva, Switzerland, carrying 215 passengers and 14 crew members, including experienced pilots flying for an airline long regarded as one of the safest and most professional in the world. The aircraft departed normally in the evening, and for about an hour, everything appeared routine as the plane climbed to cruising altitude over the northeastern United States and Canada. Approximately 53 minutes into the flight, the pilots noticed an unusual smell in the cockpit, described initially as a faint odor similar to burning or electrical smells. This moment marked the beginning of a rapidly escalating emergency. The crew followed standard procedures and contacted air traffic control, requesting a diversion to Boston. At the time, the situation did not appear immediately life-threatening, and there was no visible smoke in the cockpit, which led the crew to treat the issue as serious but manageable. However, behind the scenes, a fire had already started in the aircraft's attic space above the cockpit ceiling, an area packed with wiring and insulation but difficult to access or inspect. The source of the fire was later traced to arcing in wiring associated with the in-flight entertainment system, which had been added after the aircraft was originally certified. The insulation material used in the aircraft, known as metallized mylar, was later found to be highly flammable and capable of spreading fire rapidly once ignited. As the fire grew, it spread invisibly through the wiring bundles, damaging critical systems one by one. Over the next several minutes, the cockpit filled with smoke, alarms sounded, and systems began to fail in a cascading pattern. The pilots donned oxygen masks and attempted to maintain control while descending toward Halifax, Nova Scotia, which had been selected as the closer diversion airport. During this phase, the crew faced an overwhelming workload. Smoke reduced visibility, communications became difficult, checklists were hard to follow, and essential flight instruments began to fail as electrical power was lost. The MD-11's design placed many critical systems in the same area affected by the fire, meaning there was little redundancy once the flames reached certain wiring bundles. Despite the crew's calm and professional demeanor, they were fighting a battle they could not see and could not reach. At one point, the cockpit voice recorder captured increasing urgency as the pilots struggled to maintain situational awareness while the aircraft became progressively harder to control. Approximately 20 minutes after the initial odor was detected, the aircraft lost autopilot, flight displays, and eventually primary flight controls. The pilots attempted to descend rapidly, but by then the fire had compromised too many systems. Swissair Flight 111 entered a steep descent and impacted the ocean at high speed near Peggy's Cove, Nova Scotia. There were no survivors. The crash shocked the aviation world, not only because of the loss of life, but because it involved a modern aircraft, a highly experienced crew, and an airline with an excellent safety reputation. The investigation that followed, led by the Transportation Safety Board of Canada, was one of the most extensive and detailed in aviation history, taking more than 4 years and involving the reconstruction of nearly the entire aircraft from recovered wreckage. Investigators determined that the fire likely began in the attic area above the cockpit, fueled by flammable insulation materials and spread rapidly along wiring, overwhelming the crew long before the situation appeared critical from their perspective. Importantly, the investigation concluded that existing procedures underestimated the danger of smoke and fire in flight, particularly when the source was unknown. At the time, pilots were trained to diagnose problems methodically, But Swissair 111 showed that with an in-flight fire, time is the enemy, and landing as soon as possible is critical, even if that means deviating from standard troubleshooting steps. The accident led to sweeping changes across the aviation industry. Flammable insulation materials like metallized mylar were removed or banned from aircraft, wiring certification standards were tightened, and in-flight entertainment systems and other modifications became subject to far stricter safety oversight. Procedures were rewritten to